on Rewind the Boys, Season 2, Part 2. This is Exploring Humanity Through Sci-Fi. This rebrand continues my mission to get a better understanding of ourselves through sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and comics as our mode of exploration. Here are more interviews from the roundtable I attended virtually for The Boys, Season 2. And up first are Jack Quaid, who is Hughie, and Erin Moriarty, who is Starlight. Great to talk to you. Love the shirt, Jack.
Thank you.
So it just seems for both of you, there's conflict a little bit this season. Him and Butcher they're getting off to a really bad start. And then the new hero on the block is giving Starlight a hard time too, Stormfront. So talk about those two sources of tension for your characters.
Sure.
Let's designate who goes.
Yeah. So Stormfront, I think in the beginning, Starlight digs Stormfront. Stormfront kind of represents what Starlight's all about, which is anti-corporation, anti anything that involves 7 members being puppets for Vought. She's this fresh new energy. She seems a little bit more irreverent and rebellious than any other character or any other person on the 7 in the entire show. And so I think that she's into Stormfront and the idea of a potential allyship there. But obviously Stormfront just sees Starlight for the facade that she's putting on, which is, like, as Stormfront puts it, a Vought Barbie. So that desire for allyship is not reciprocated. And so that is the beginning of their dynamic. And then as the season progresses, we learn they both have a facade, and they both realize that neither of them are what they appear to be. It becomes contentious and tumultuous, and that's about all I can say in terms of their trajectory as, two characters in their dynamic. But
yeah, with Hughie and Butcher, it was really rewarding to play out that dynamic this time around with Karl, because now Hughie can see Butcher for what he is. At the end of last season, he left them all for dead, basically, to pursue his own intentions. And when he comes back, Hughie seems to be the only one in the group being like, wait a second, let's pump the brakes. This guy left us all. He doesn't really quite have that history with him that the other members of the boys have. I think they all kind of have a little bit more of a confidence that he'll be back and he'll continue leading them. Whereas Hughie thinks, look, we're so close to taking down Vought. All of our lives can go back to normal. We don't need this guy. Let's just keep pursuing the mission. So when he comes back, it's like, all of the things, the little seeds he's been planting, his plans, communicating with Annie, it all kind of goes out the window because this typhoon of a person who all he does is instigate chaos is back at the helm. And they go head to head a lot.
More with those boys in just a moment. I also spoke to Karl Urban, who is Billy Butcher, and Laz Alonso, who is Mother's Milk. It seems for both of you this season, family plays a big part in your characters and a motivation for them. Talk about that aspect. Mother's Milk is the dollhouse. He's just thinking about his family. And Butcher, now that he's found his wife, that's his almost obsession. So talk about that part of it and how it's going to shape the season a little bit.
The dollhouse is really the only connection that Mother's Milk has to his daughter. And, it's kind of like the old saying that when someone is locked up in prison, they can lock up your body, but they can't lock up your mind. And for Mother's Milk, that's where he was. He wasn't in that disgusting, ratty basement, hideout. He was in that house with his daughter, with his family, and that's what kept his sanity. There's going to be an evolution in the season where he's going to have to figure out the dollhouse becomes a wedge that he has to decide. And it's interesting that you pointed out that it has to do with family, because he has to choose. He's chosen his family. He's chosen the boys, but he has another family, and that dollhouse becomes, very pivotal in reminding him, which family do you really belong to?
Yeah, for Billy Butcher, season 2, you're right, is very much all about Becca Butcher. At the end of season 1, Butcher discovers that his wife is indeed actually alive. And so Butcher's main goal and agenda through season 2 is to find her and reunite with her, to rescue her. And the sort of issues that raises for Butcher is primarily how far is he willing to go to achieve that goal. And we see in season 1 a Butcher that was obsessed, hell-bent, driven, and was really prepared to do anything to achieve his goal of bringing down Vought. In season 2, and that didn't work out too well for him. In season 2, this obsession is now shifted and is burning, like a bright candlestick. And, Butcher's on a quest, and, maybe to save his wife, he's going to have to go raise it to a new level. He's going to have to go and find the candlestick maker and, and really make it happen and find out, what is who is the main puppeteer of the 7, and how do you take them down?
Yeah.
I want to piggyback on Karl's point about the candlestick. When we start off season 2, we're all in the dark. We don't know. First of all, we don't know where Butcher is. We don't know what we're all doing. We're almost individuals. We're no longer a team. Frenchie's kind of making money and trying to figure out how to get us passports. Hughie is off on quest, saying he's going somewhere, but he's meeting up with Starlight, discreetly, hopefully. Mother's Milk is kind of just leave me alone. And what we're missing is having that mission. We don't have a mission anymore. In season 1, we had a clear mission and we had a clear leader, and now our leader is gone. And that's what I felt was, the biggest challenge. Firstly, shooting boy scenes without Karl just didn't feel right. It felt dark. And in that first step, in that episode where he comes down the steps, and he establishes that, he's home, in the catchphrase, I think it's going to be season 2, Daddy's home, are already all over that. It reunites us, and gives us, a clear, we have somewhere to go now. Now we have this internal family dynamic that, in season 1, Frenchie and Mother's Milk had their thing, but season 2, it's all of us. I mean, we literally are all at each other's throats and refinding who we are as a family, even to the extent where it helps the story explain who we were 5-10 years before that. I love the fact that family became the focal point, because through the dysfunction of our boys' family, we find out backstory on all of us in season 2.
There's more on Butcher's and another character's backstory.
Definitely, this season we get to learn more about specifically Butcher's backstory, and sort of come to understand that there's the darker elements and aspects of his character. That hidden monster within him was there well before he met Rebecca, his wife. This season is really about taking the element that is most important to each and every character and ripping it away from them and seeing how they deal with it.
It's funny because the backstory that I am a part of isn't necessarily my flashback. It's Frenchie's flashback. But our stories and our pasts are intricately linked from, our first go at the boy when we were the boys before we disbanded, and then, essentially the boys is picking up where we left off, before. And so it goes back into that, which my character is a part of. And it'll make sense because it'll answer, why does my character treat Frenchie the way he does? Why am I so hard on him? Why do I blame him for so much stuff? The guy is just trying to do his best. And in season 2, you'll understand what happens that makes me do that and turn into that. Because in the first time that we were the boys, Mother's Milk and Frenchie were best friends. And you'll get to see that too. How they were before they had the falling out. Yeah,
MM was like a choir boy holding onto his candlestick. You forgive the metaphor, but and obviously then the events with Mallory happen, and that whole thing is the candlestick's out the window, and those guys are
100%. Well, she was the candlestick maker.
Yeah,
so to speak, for us.
Yeah, no, true, totally true.
There's more of my look at the season 2 of The Boys on Amazon Prime. And also Jesse T. Usher, who is the speedy A-Train. So guys, talk about where you guys are at the beginning. Chace, you're going through the deep is really in hot water, no pun. And and Jesse, A-Train is kind of going through some things too, some behind the scenes stuff. So both talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I'm a part of the 7, but haven't really been a part of it since like episode 2, season 1. But I've been a part of Ohio for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because they threw the head shaving thing at me. Crippy kind of emailed me before that final episode. I was like, just so you know, this is going to happen. I'm like, great. I always kind of wanted to do that on camera. We had one shot, and so season 2, we had to reshave it and, kind of pick up where we left off. But he's, in a pretty dark place. And, he's just one of those guys that is sorry, but not really, hasn't really felt the full effects of it, and is sort of sorry that he got caught and the rug was been pulled out from under him, and that his whole identity was wrapped up in being this famous, obviously superhero star and social media star in New York. And now he's sort of relegated to Ohio. And, I think, he's through without giving too much away, he goes on a journey of sort of self-exploration and, trying to redeem himself maybe for selfish reasons, just to get back to New York and get back to the 7 and back to his status.
Yeah, and as for A-Train, we kind of see his whole world just get deconstructed throughout season 1 with a lot of things that were mostly just internal issues that he was having. A lot of things that he's got to face, in season 1. And it was a lot. It was too much for him. And it took a toll on his body, took a toll on his health. In a lot of ways, he leaned on that compound V just to kind of get through to, the day. And to be honest with you, it was a lot. I mean, his status is based on his physical abilities. And that was just the things that came from, the social issues that he was going through kind of all depended on that. And it was just too much for his body to take. So, you end up seeing him get that heart attack at the end of season 1. And a lot of season 2 for A-Train is going to be just healing and rebuilding and discovery and, facing those demons that he's been running from for so long, no pun intended. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he and the Deep kind of all just, or kind of both kind of fight their way back in a sense. I can't give too much away, but it'll be interesting to see them do that. I want to say more, but I can't.
I know, man. I'm the worst at that too. So.
Man, it's hard not to give any spoilers away.
I know.
hear you. Chace, I have to say that you add a whole new meaning to talking to yourself in a scene, but that's as far as I go. Folks, you got to see that scene. It's an amazing scene. It really is.
It's going to be good.
Thank you. You're talking about the ending scene for the whatever the.
No, in the room by yourself.
Oh yeah,
he's talking.
Oh, so okay. So you've seen the. I didn't realize you've seen the first couple.
Yeah, first two. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. That was a very interesting, interesting scene. I mean, what's funny about that is it's a big show and we have so many people and so many stuff to get to that particular scene kind of fell by the wayside. We had to go pick it up later, but they didn't really tell me when. So I was really kind of nervous about, them just dropping that scene on me. And it was probably for the better because they kind of did drop it on me. I was like, second unit starting up, your scene's up like in 2 days on Thursday. And it was kind of nice because they had second unit. We shot it with Phil and it was, it was a little bit smaller crew and it was nicer because since it wasn't main unit, we had all this time to do it. So Phil had all these crazy shots from above and we really just got to play and it was just in that room, obviously, and was, yeah. So Phil just kept going. He's like, what about this shot? What about this shot? I'm like, whatever you want to do, Phil, I'm here, So it was nice to be able to spend, almost like 6, 7, 8 hours on that scene. And it was pretty weird, pretty cool.
Yes, it was. Yeah. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite scenes in season 2. Definitely can't wait for people to see that one.
Nice,
jeez.
Man. Yeah. Oh, it was interesting. So, yeah.
Watch The Boys all seasons available on Amazon Prime. Thanks for listening. I'm Tony Tolato. Coming this November on Sci-Fi Talk Plus, only original programming in the form of new podcasts, in addition to re-edited vintage shows. Plus, videos will now be available for every episode. Several new podcasts have been created, such as Paranormal, which will feature 2 interviews per episode. In the works, episodes grouped by subject matter. As always, my subscriber downloads will dictate and help create content. On video, there's video trailers and my Behind the Curtain series, featuring interviews, clips, and behind-the-scenes footage, provided by the movie and TV studios, but edited for Plus. The 1-year free trial is still in effect with a $1.99 price, frozen in time after the trial is over. Listen and watch on your desktop, laptop, or phone. You'll get a private RSS feed. How to listen? It's easy on provided players like Apple Podcast and Spotify, to name a few. Click on the link in the show notes to start your free trial today.